All right, nice to have you back with us. So what is happening in the political world? Ongoing delays in the MTA, Cuomo and the Working Families Party, and a lot more. And it is my pleasure to bring on the telephone Michael Benjamin, who's the Associate Editor of the Editorial Page of the New York Post. Nice to have you with us, Mr. Michael. Good to talk to you.
Good morning, Gary.
Always good to talk to you. Before we even begin, I guess we're going to congratulate both of us. We were selected by City and State magazine to be in their Power 50. What number are you? You're somewhere down in the zeros there, right? Where are you?
Right behind you and Michael Nobby at number 29.
Yeah, it really is. It's a nice honor. And listen, both of us do what we do because we love what we do, not because we want to be ranked or rated. But it's a nice thing to be recognized. I'm sure you feel the same way that I do, and I know that Executive Director Michael Nobby feels that way.
Yeah, I feel that way, and I'm also happy for a number of the community-based organization leaders that made the list, because they do so much more for our borough.
Yeah, and you know, they really drive the borough. Listen, do you take the train? Do you take the train to work? How do you get to work?
Yes, I do, the D train.
Are you finding, like a lot of people are finding, that the trains are still in bad shape despite the glowing evaluation by the MTA the other day?
Well, I'm not really riding that much in rush hour. So my subways aren't that crowded. Yeah, there are some delays, but they're manageable. And I use the transit app, and I can tell when my train is coming. Usually, the train does arrive on time. Again, I'm not traveling, during the morning rush between 6 and 9, so it's probably a little different experience for me.
Yeah.
But I know coming home in the evening, yes, the trains can be crowded, even more so coming home on a night the Yankees are playing.
Well, that goes without saying. I saw some of the numbers. I don't really have them in front of me, but the percentage of delays, I think it was something like 60,000 trains delayed.
No, it went up over this time two years ago, before the Subway Action Plan went into effect. So in a sense, they went backwards in that regard. Now, I know they're making progress in doing some station renovations. My home station on 167th Street in Grand Concourse, that's closed right now for renovation. So that's going to be helpful to folks who live in my community and other communities where their stations are closed for renovation. Those cosmetic changes, are uplifting for passengers, but passengers really want to get to work on time. They want their trains to be reliable. They want them to be clean. And, those things they're working on. I'm hoping that, Mr. Byford, as we said in a post editorial today, that he needs to move a little bit faster. He said to us that in 6 months, when we met him in last May, that we'd see visible changes. And we're looking forward to seeing those visible changes, which would be reductions in delays, cars that are cleaner, stations that aren't falling apart or flooded when a heavy rain comes.
I think that some of the problems with stations people would tolerate if the trains were on time, or if they didn't end up sitting, somewhere along, on the number 1 side, or the 2 and 3 between 96th Street and 42nd Street, and all of a sudden they're sitting there for 25 minutes with no place to move.
That was my experience. That was my experience yesterday aboard the number 3 train.
Right.
We were stuck at 116th Street because there was a disabled train at 96th Street, so we sat maybe 15 minutes. And of course, I was late to work, but yeah, that happened.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, and actually my home station on the number 1 train is also being renovated, and it's going to be closed for, I don't even want to think of how long it's going to be. And it becomes very hard. The same thing with the construction of roads. It becomes very hard if you're stuck in traffic and say, oh my goodness, all this construction. On the other hand, hopefully when the construction ends, it'll make things better. And I guess the same thing would be the MTA, and I guess that promises what they're relying on as they go forward.
Exactly. That's what Byford is saying. But he's also right. He needs the mayor and the governor and the legislature to step up to the plate and make the proper contribution if we really want to accelerate the repairs to the subway system. The mayor's going to have to and the mayor and the governor set aside their egos and work together for the benefit of New York City commuters. And actually, when you work in the subways and the buses, you're also improving the business climate.
Well, there's no question about it. And actually, some of the dialogues that I've had with electeds and people who are looking to be elected officials in the Bronx, they've talked about the importance of transportation. And you're like, well, with housing and all these and poverty and all these other big issues, why is that important? But I think about myself, the times that I'm stuck in traffic or the times that I'm delayed on the subways. I'm like, it's like burning money. You know, you really want to have a productive society, and you can't have that if people are sitting in traffic or on a delayed train. I mean, there's no question
and hopefully
about that.
one day they can improve the interborough transportation network, because getting from one place to another in the Bronx is hard. It's hard to do. Getting from the Bronx to Manhattan, is pretty simple, but getting from let's say Riverdale to Throgs Neck, it's complicated unless you're in a car.
Well, yes, and to be fair, that has improved for drivers because the elimination of the toll booths and the auto Easy Pass things that are above you are like a revelation, is because you used to sit at every one of the toll booths all the time. Now, at least over there, you don't have traffic. Michael, let's just shift gears here and talk direct politics. I'm not aware of this conflict or question between the governor and the Working Families Party. So why don't you fill us in with that, and so we can get some understanding of what the dynamic is.
Oh, that conflict goes back at least 4 years.
Right.
In 2014, the Working Families was concerned about giving their nomination to the governor, but Mayor de Blasio, a close ally of theirs, convinced them to give him the line. They did. When the governor was elected, he sort of turned their back on the Working Families Party and their issues. So this year, they decided they were not going to offer him the line. They gave a line instead to Cynthia Nixon and Jumaane Williams, who's running for lieutenant governor. Now that both have lost, the Working Families Party has to determine whether or not they remove them from the ballot, which is a bit complicated, and then replace them with Cuomo Hochul in hopes of not splitting their progressive vote and allowing Republican Mark Molinaro to possibly win, and also to avoid any future fights with the governor, and also for the party to retain its official ballot status. They need 50,000 votes in a gubernatorial election. And so they have to weigh that. There are members of their state committee who are opposed to turning over the ballot line to Cuomo Hochul. They want to stick to their principles. They believe Cuomo has not been a true progressive, and they want to stick with the Nixon-Williams ticket. Even if they don't run actively, they still think they can get them 50,000 votes that they need, and that they won't necessarily cause Cuomo to lose to let's say Mark Molinaro, the Republican nominee.
There's a lot of machinations that you just talked about in there, but to me, the bottom line is, and it's hard to deny, Andrew Cuomo is a master politician, because here is somebody who, his father, and initially he had reputations as being really liberal-minded and progressive-minded. And the fact is, if you evaluate his record over, during his tenure as governor, he certainly has shifted to the right in many cases, yet all of his campaign material was, anti-Trump, we are the antidote to Trump, almost casting himself as a progressive, which he's really not. He's just able to keep all those plates spinning at the same time. And given the alignment you just arranged, he's still playing with the Working Families Party with a chance to even get that line. The master stroke of manipulation, I think, political manipulation.
But he claims that he's not seeking it outright. He says one thing in public, and his team does other things in private. But publicly, he's saying he's not looking for their line. I'm certain he would love to have it. I'm hoping that the Working Families, stick to their principles, and they retain the Nixon-Williams ticket, and I think they'll still get their 50,000 votes. And we want competitive democracy. Well, you do that by having multiple candidates on the ballot line.
I don't disagree with you, and I have to say you just reinforced what I said, because he says he doesn't really want it, but then of course if he gets it, it's very cleverly aligned. Michael, I will be attending this evening the City and State event. Will I see you there?
I'm going to try to get there, but we tend to work late until 6:30, 7 o'clock on getting our editorials prepared for print and to go online. So I may miss it since it's up in Waves Hill. And Waves Hill is not close to it. It's a real subway line.
I was just going to say, if you get stuck on the trains, you might end up being late. So then accepting the award on Michael Benjamin's behalf will be Gary Axelbank. Thank you very much.
Much appreciated.
Michael, have a great day, and we'll see you in the paper soon. Thank you so much.
All right, Gary. Thank you. Take care.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with much more on Open right after this.